the biblical mandate. And so that's where we come from. We come from the biblical mandate. What that is. So if you show me biblically, and that's right where we start. You show me the Great Commission, you show me the Great Commandment, you show me biblically, then I can prioritize tactically. And that's what we're doing today. We're prioritizing tactically around the Great Commission, Great Commandment. If we can do that, now we can intentionally move. We can move our churches, we can move other churches, ultimately, so we can get to UUPGs, unreached and unengaged people groups. And we do that without apology. Why do we do that without apology? And because it's biblical. We go right back there. It's a command, just like it says. It's the Great Commandment. It's the Great Commission. You do that without apology. Here it says grow exponentially, but what I would say is you will get exponential health if you do that. And every church knows that, right? Isn't every church chasing that same thing?
Amen.
That's right. So it doesn't matter if it's PD, it's not PD. They're all chasing the same thing. And so that's one of the challenges that we have. And undoubtedly you guys have run into that over time. That people say, well, that PD thing, that's a marketing scheme. You know, it's Amway, it's multi-level marketing. And no, it's not. It's Great Commission, Great Commandment. That's all it is. And I'm more likely to lead in with the Great Commission, Great Commandment than I am to lead in with this is purpose-driven training. It's not that at all. We're all about Great Commission, Great Commandment. I don't care what you call it. I had a bunch of African pastors right here about 3 months ago. And it was a smaller group, so we had all the tables together. And we were sitting there, and we were talking about this issue. This guy in the corner says, so tell me something. What happens 50 years from now when PD is no longer in vogue? And if I were to translate that, I would say that the fad of PD is now gone. Now what happens? Because he was thinking all the different models and all the different programs that are around, what happens when they go by the wayside and the next program comes along. And I said, let me ask you a different question. How long has the Great Commission and the Great Commandment been around? How long has it been around? Yeah, 2,000 years plus. And I said, that's where we are. So I'm not worried about 2,000 years from now. I'm certainly not worried about 50 years from now. Because if we're attached to that, we are good until Jesus comes home. Until we all come home. And so I'm not really concerned. So that's where we are. And that's really, and language is important. And that's why I actually changed this to say exponential health, because it's really not even about growth. Health, but it is about this growth in this way, because I know healthy things grow. I've got a garden behind in the back of my house. We grow tomatoes, and we take care of those. We spray organic, actually, water and olive oil on the plants to keep bugs off. We water it. We pull the weeds. We trim, and we do all that. And now we're yielding the fruit of all that. So it's no different. We take care of that fruit, and then it grows. And I've got plants back there that are 6 feet high. I've got more than I could ever do with, even now. So throughout the summer, I'll have all that. Healthy things grow. So when we're concerned about health, growth will come. So it's not just about butts and seats, right? Ultimately, we'll get there. And that'll be a good thing when we get there. Dan, go ahead. Next one. So what have we been doing about that? Not that one. That. So what have we been doing about that? In the last while, we get a bunch of pastors here back in March. And we talked about very similar things. I think some of you guys were here, and that became what you're seeing today. But here's some of the things that we're looking at in terms of training. And as we're doing training and looking at how we deliver training, we thought about this 3-year process. And some of you are familiar with that, about the 3-year PD process, which is one of the things I discovered when I moved from the team that I was on. I've been with Saddleback for over 16 years. And when I came up to this team 8 months ago, I was looking at it and saying, what's the issue here? What's the big giant that we need to tackle? Well, the giant wasn't training people, because a lot of you, we've been training all over the world. Saddleback has been training, Kelly's been training out in India, and various of the other guys have been training all over the place. But I think the issue is who's been implementing. We've done all that training. Who's getting out there, and how do we get there? And so we started looking at different delivery systems. And in our mind, certainly live training, that first funnel right there, live training is probably the best thing that we can do. Now, having said that, it's interesting how we're currently running a pilot down in Mexico right now in 7 different cities. And it's interesting how they enjoy watching a ripped video from 15 years ago. Even young Rick, old video, young Rick. And they enjoy watching that. That doesn't mean that we don't teach it live. But sometimes they like the power of Rick doing it, coming from what God gave him. They enjoy that. But I think live training is probably the best way to go if we had the best of all worlds. So that's kind of facilitated on site. We thought about that. The other thing is, as we look at current technologies and look at delivery mechanisms and look at how younger people that are much younger than some of us, look at how they learn and how they engage knowledge and material. Virtual classroom is another way of delivery. That's also live, but it's delivered from here, for instance, and beamed out to where you are. So you can participate in live training, but you're somewhere else and you may be with a group of people watching the same thing. We've got a tool, it's called Adobe Connect, that allows that to be interactive so that people who are participating can ask questions and they can interact. And by the way, we can record that session as we're doing it. So if someone misses it, they can go back and they can watch it. Or if someone that sat in on the training, they can watch it again later on if they want to remember what was it that happened there. And that recording lends itself to online training. And I would define online training as kind of a person by themselves going back and re-reviewing material after they've already been through it. Our intention is not to deliver all purpose-driven training just online where one guy sits at 3 o'clock in the morning and watches it, because that's when he's available. That's not the intent. The intent is to solidify what has already been trained, because this needs to be done in community. It needs to be done with relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we don't want to ignore that, because that's the beauty of it. But all those funnels drop in the same place. And here's the other thing we discovered as we went through this was that the reason why a lot of people didn't implement, because they got a fire hose treatment of training. And in some cases, I've heard of churches that train for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Dump all that purpose training in 2 weeks and then send them off and then kind of help them through it. I said, okay, that's one way. For me to dump that much, I'll probably remember day 10. The last day. That's probably the only day I'll remember, and I'll forget what all that other stuff was. So we had to think about that. And then there was a lack of support on the back end. For years, one of the jobs that I had when I was working in Texas, I built a technical support center for computers. So and these were for, I was working with AST Computer, and these were for consumer, kind of the first round of consumer products as computers were coming out. What do you think the most important, how many of you think that the most important thing about that was sales, selling computers? Sell as many as you can. Is that the deal? Is that the thing? No, it's not. So what is the thing?
Support.
Yep, support. It's the stick factor. Because without that support, that computer would never stick. The sale would never stick.
Yeah.
I work with a Jewish guy who called it shtick. The shtick factor. So he loved the field engineers, and he loved this 300-seat tech support center because they were keeping computers in the homes and keeping them from coming back to the stores. That's what we need. We need that coaching network and that support so that we can sustain and sustain for scalability. So we not only sustain, but now we can multiply ourselves because we, Saddleback, we can't do all that. And indeed, we call this the ABCD process. The first is kind of adopt the paradigm. B is become, which is all the training modules, which we'll talk about in a minute here. C is the coaching network. And D is really the deployment, that's Mike's part, deployment out to the unreached, unengaged people groups. So it's is A, B, C, D. We're talking about the B and C process right now. That B and C process fundamentally is Dave Holden and I. That's it. Now, a lot of others that come before us have really laid the groundwork and built the roads that we're driving on today, and we're very grateful for them. But now we're carrying it to the next, and we're just beginning to staff that now. But the virtual staff is what we're really...
Are these notes that you're showing us here, are they in the workbook?
That one is not, and that's why I threw it up here, because it's not in your workbook. There's something I was just thinking about over the weekend. I was thinking, boy, you guys really need to know where our heads are at and what we're thinking about.
Thank you.
Because we want your feedback on it. We want you to engage with us and say, what do you think? Are we missing the boat here, or is that where we need to be? So that coaching through and implementation is the word for me. It is that, I am a James guy. I love the book of James because James is a doer.
Yeah.
Go get her done, and that's where I live, is getting things done. And my background was process engineering and get things done. And it's not that I have a task list to check off. It's just that we played a soccer game when we were out there. What coach was training you yesterday, was that the deal? What he trained you while we were sitting there? Was that the ultimate goal where we were at? No. Why was he doing that? To win the game. And indeed, you should have seen him smile yesterday. When I was talking with Matthew or Doug, and you guys were out there, and you were spontaneously playing. He did not tell you guys to do that. We were standing over here. No kidding. He was almost tearing up. And he said, that's what I live for. Right there. They're all doing it, they're celebrating, they're yelling, and this morning they're walking around like this. You notice I'm not walking around like that. You know why? Why?
You didn't win.
Because I didn't play.
But we won. That's really all that matters.
So I didn't get in the game. So I couldn't win because I didn't get in the game, and I didn't execute all the way through the game. But many of you did. That was an awesome thing. Coach just said that's where we're at. And that's where we're at. We're at that we have got to implement, and we have got to say, not how many people did we train, we've got to say, how many churches are touching what people? How many of those unengaged, unreached people groups are we winning and reducing that number so we're getting closer and closer to that day? That's where we're going. Okay. So we've been talking some time now about how we've kind of just revisioned this training. I will say this right up front, the content we have not changed one bit of content that you're familiar with. We haven't changed it, that this is in section 4 in your book. We haven't changed one bit of content. And we're still moving from the outside in. Or building from community to core, or commission actually. In the center. So we cultivate, we sow, support, foster, and then harvest. What's the harvest? The harvest is the payoff, the harvest is the big win. And that's what we're shooting for. So we now took this training and looked at it, and when I was looking at the training, and so I've been with Saddleback a long time, so I know how purpose-driven works, and I'm looking at that, and I'm saying, so people they come to these long seminars, get all this teaching, which may go on for a while. And even the videos, I think the longest video is 55 minutes. And that's one of the first ones where Rick talks about 9 ways to be purpose-driven. It's 55 minutes long, and I'm thinking, I don't know about you, but for me to sit still for 55 minutes and watch a video and not do anything, I start to get a little bit antsy. And I also know about learning styles. That feels very much, I heard somebody saying yesterday, when you start talking about class and showing up for a class, especially with adults, what do you hear? I went to school, and I'm not going to school again. Yeah, I said that too. When I was done with school, I'm not going to school again. And so there I was, sitting in seminary at 50 years old, back in school, back in class. But highly interactive class, much different from the classrooms that I sat in when I was a young man going to college. A whole lot different deal. But so I looked at that and said, well, how do we make that more palatable to overcome that idea of drinking from the fire hydrant? Because I don't know how many times I've heard that you gave me the fire hose treatment, and Now, my brain is so scrambled, I can't do anything other than the best academics, guys who really suck that kind of stuff up and remember all that. I used to work with a guy at Toshiba. His name was Mr. Nishida. He was the head. Yeah, I won't go there. But he had a photographic memory, but he also had narcolepsy, which meant that he'd be sitting in a meeting and all of a sudden he'd just fall asleep. And he'd be asleep for 20 minutes and all of a sudden he'd wake up. But here's the thing about that guy, he took a picture before he went to sleep. And all the marketing guys have these charts up there with a zillion numbers on it. And he would wake up after 20 minutes and he'd say, go back 20 pages, column 34, that number right there, that number's not right. And it was just astounding. So there are guys like that, but most of us are not like that. We learn a lot of different ways. We learn kinetically. And so we've approached it that way. So go ahead and go to the first module, Dave. So we modularized this training into 8 modules. The first module being an introduction. But what we did is we split the videos in every one of these modules up into 2 pieces. So you got 2 25-minute pieces or 27-minute pieces. So you had some introduction from whoever the trainer is, the facilitator, that would introduce the people in the room, here's where we're going today, and then here, watch this video. So then play the video, play the 27 minutes. At the end of the 27 minutes, stop the video, and then there's 3 or 4, anywhere from 2 to 4 discussion questions. And we break the room into groups, as you are right now, and say, go into your group and wrestle with these questions. I want you to consider those things. And so we let them work through it. We go, why? How do you learn when you're wrestling through it? You're not listening to me telling you about it, which I may be questionable, or I may be wrong, or I may be... However, you get the chance to wrestle with that. You get the chance to hear others who may be ahead or behind you. You may get fresh eyes on it and see something different. You may find someone very seasoned who's been through these things. And so now you learn from one another. And then we come back in and do big group share. And now I would say, okay, Tyler, in your group, what's the best you heard right there? Just give me one thing, the best you heard. And Kelly, over there, what's the best you heard over there? Ken, over there, here. Go so that everyone can hear kind of the best of the best. And sometimes that generates even more discussion. And you can have a little bit of big group discussion. So we incorporate that right into the teaching time. Then we go to the second part of the video and repeat, do the same thing. Play a video, go into discussion time, big group share. Okay, when we're done with all that, the next step is to now, the plan is to conduct these trainings once a month for 8 months. So if the first of the month, if you were to do the first training, now you've got a 30-day plan that the facilitator, the trainer would go over with you. Here are 4 things you want you to do in the next 30 days before you come back to the next training. And that's going to do 2 things. It's going to solidify what you learned. It's going to set you up for the next training. Now, as we tested this down in Latin America, or down in Mexico, one of the things that we found is if you don't have that coaching piece and someone asking them, how are you doing? What did you do in school when you had a term paper due? And it's due the 1st of March. When did you write that? Yeah, that's right. The night before. Yeah, there were those rare people that did all along the way, but yeah, you cram at the end. And we found a lot of that. And we found a lot of people just didn't do it at all. And so we need that coaching piece along the way, so someone is calling on that person. And so how many weeks does it take to change a habit or create a new habit? 3. Yeah, people say anywhere from 3 to 8. Well, 8 weeks is 2 months. So our vision of coaching is you coach for the first 2 months, module 1, module 2 every week. Coach calls. First week might be an hour coaching session, just asking about the things that we ask them to do. What's their progress? How they're coming along? Once the person that's being coached gets used to that, they get ready to report. So now those coaching sessions can get shorter And then you can kind of get to, did you do these? Yes, you got all that, got that out of the way. Do you have specific questions that we can cover now? And the coach can start to help lead. The coach only needs to be a little bit ahead of that person that you're coaching. If they get a little bit ahead, then they will know where to lead them to move them through this process. So first 2 months, heavy on coaching, it can tail off a little bit. Not completely, just tail off, maybe it's every 2 weeks, whatever the person needs along the way, but to give them all that support that they need. So then you get through the 8 modules. Now you've got a time after that for probably about 6 months or so for any catch-up. You know, rarely, I think, do people hit module 4 is class 101. And their 30-day plan is to institute class 101 because all the transcripts are there, all the notes are there. Go ahead and conduct one. We always get pushback there. Oh, I'm not ready. Like, what aren't you ready? You've got all the notes. You've got, even if you read them, you've got all the notes, you got the slides, you got the, just, well, I've only got 10 people. Great. Take 10 people through class 101 and just get started. Those 10 people, once they do it, will lead on the others. Yeah, and even if you get pushback, that's some of the pushback we got down in Mexico, Latin America in general, is that, well, people don't want to come to a 4-hour class. Do that. So one of these African guys said to me as we were discussing that very same issue, one of the things that he said to me was, well, I tried to institute class 101, didn't work very well, couldn't get it going. People already consider themselves members of the church because the idea of membership is kind of foreign to them. You show up, you're a member. And so he said, and I said, well, what'd you do? Because he didn't just give up at that point, which I thought was awesome. He figured it out. And so when he told the rest of them, here's what I did, he goes, I taught it in 1.5-hour segments at the weekend service for 4 weeks.
There you go.
And at the end of that, I handed out a card and had him sign it. You were now a continued member. And you've taken class 101. So that was brilliant.
Really?
That is brilliant. So you always have time to do it because you've got a weekend service. 8-month process. Get through it. Probably 6 months after that, you're catching up, still implementing, still closing some of the things, still having coaching. But the whole idea is to get people through that. And then as we've trained you guys, you go off and you do the same thing with others. And that's where our coaching network comes from. That's where our mentors come from. They come from those kind of stellar students who've taken it and run with it, and those who have done it. Make sense? Any comment, question? Anything I missed, Dave?
It was pretty thorough.
No, I'll just say, just that for the years we were training in India and even in Africa, we didn't have this. And I guess this is kind of born out of when we were doing all that training. And I know this has come out of, okay, how do we make this better? So I really appreciate it. So I guess I'm just saying that this isn't what you're doing. This isn't just, oh, this is the approach we're going to take, but it's been born out of years of figuring this out. And you're presenting it very quickly, but I appreciate this so much from the standpoint of what we're trying to do, but we didn't have the plan maybe to fully implement. This, you know, Kim, this is very helpful. So I'm delighted to see this.
Well, yeah, and I would say this, shame on us, Saddleback, shame on us that we gave you all that, sent you out and didn't support you.
Well, we're all learning as we
But
are.
we're back, so here we are, and we're ready for the next phase. I mean, that was phase 1. I said, I'm grateful for all that, for you guys, for all the path that you played, and you were out there hacking the weeds when we weren't helping you. And now we need to do this together, and we need to continue. We're going to scale this worldwide.
My section 4 doesn't have any of this modules, and I don't know if anybody else has noticed that.
Well, let's find a notebook that maybe there's a notebook over there.
And then I'm curious if it's possible for us to have some of this on digital.
You are going to get, at the end of this, I've got DVD sets for all you guys. And you'll get, what you will get is the training. You'll get all the videos, will be on 2 DVDs, then there's a resource CD which has all the modules. And all the supporting documentation, we'll talk a lot about that supporting documentation this afternoon when we do another segment.
So my mind's actually going 2 different places, and maybe now's not the time for me to ask this question, but so our local church is in Tampa. So our Jerusalem, Tampa, like we've got great thinking about that. And this would plug and play very easily secondarily, we've got relationships in like Bahamas, Jamaica, Kenya. Are there two sort of separate methodologies for domestic versus international at this point?
Nope, same one.
Everything's the same?
And this is exactly why we're running this pilot down in Mexico now. Down in Mexico, we're anywhere, so there's 7 cities, we're in all the capital cities, and then we're in Mexicali. Mexicali, next month, we'll be doing module 7, they're almost done. And we've incorporated a lot of learnings there, back into the training, because as we watch what's happened there. And the struggle there has been, we wanted them to teach it, not us.
Right.
So they were already PD, and the pastor down there, Pastor Emmanuel, just jumped in with both feet and ran 100 miles an hour. And that guy's a superstar. But still, he wanted to step out at times and say, hey, send Dave Holden down to me. We want him to train Module 5. And I said, all due respect, I do not. I'll send Dave Holden down there, but to evaluate what you're doing, not to teach it. Because I need you to do it, because if this is going to be scalable and repeatable, you have to do it. And not only that, you've got to teach your guys to do this with the local churches. And same process. Exactly. So this is, remember, this is quick start. This isn't the depth of a 3-year plan. This is a get them started quickly, get them to stick their toe in the water. Sometimes it's hard to stick your toe in the water if you want to see the part. If you stand back and don't stick your toe in, it's not going to work. So, and you've got to do it all. You can't go in and do it while do this half of it.
You're right.
If you want that exponential health, you got to do it all. Good question. And by the way, the next pilot, we've been running in Rwanda for 10 years. But we recorded in Kenya, Rwandan, French, and African English with nationals on all those. So they're getting updated videos, exact same content, but African faces and current video technology.
Is there a way that rather than a CD with the material, the printed material, could we get a shared Dropbox or something that that people could go to get it rather
Yeah,
than...
ultimately, we want to put this up on a website or someplace where they can go
Just,
get it.
yeah.
In fact, we've done a lot of that down in Mexico, but even that is challenging because you get some of the outer reaches, there's not enough bandwidth to do that. And we've got to think about even Africa all the way into the bush, how do we get there? And ultimately, you can't avoid the printed material at some point, because you're going to have to get all the way out, or at least, of course, they're oral learners.
And do you see over the next few months just a refining process, like this is part of the refining process of the curriculum? So
That's right.
give it to us, stamped in stone today would make sense.
That's right. It's going to change. It's going to change as a result of what we're doing here today. The conversations we've been having with all you guys, and that's partially why you have, I talked to us and stuff that's not in there. Because as I was talking to you guys, I thought, oh, we really need to add this, add that. So that's why this is in a 3-ring binder. The stuff is just kind of stuck in there. This will be formalized. We'll go to graphic artists and we'll package it at some point. This is definitely the front end of that process, which is why we convened this, so that you guys can input to all that.
On Module 8, the 180-day plan, so that's kind of day 6 of creation. So that's the long.
Yeah, that's a long term. After you've done all the training, there's probably things that you haven't done throughout the modules. You may not have incorporated Class 401. So that's just, it's not strictly 180 days. It's however long it takes to solidify it and implement it and get it installed.
So with the coaching, because that's where you begin to chart a course for your church, so that's going to be contextualized for that location.
Correct.
So, with the regions, if there are 8 regions, that coach will have to know.
Right.
So, exactly how the plan is contextualized for that pastor. So you're going to have.
Which is why we want to train you, so that you can spread out Texas of things that we don't know.
Well, so my question is, would the expectation be for the coach to be able to know each church and the way that they contextualize this? Because
Yeah, they would have to have enough discussion with them to know how they're implementing. We're not dictating, we're dictating a system. This is the system. but you do have to enculturate it. And here's a simple enculturation. When we were down in Mexico and we started to have discussion when we hit Module 4, Class 101, that's heavy on talking about membership, right? Well, when we got into the discussion time, almost every one of those guys said, membership. There was a 45-minute debate about membership, and it really didn't need to be a 45-minute debate, because after 5 minutes I realized that is not a good word down in Mexico. And it's not a word that is culturally transferable.
Sure.
And I think they landed on belong. I said, I don't care what you call it.
Right.
Call it whatever you call it. And I don't care how you deliver it, just like the guy in Africa who delivered Class 101 in 4 sermons. That is awesome.
So taking in consideration the activity that we had yesterday with the coach, so we would find those pastors that are getting it done, and then we would use them to kind of break off into regions within regions.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Because that's how we scale it.
Yeah.
Because we,
Yeah.
Dave and I aren't going to do it.
Yeah.
We're not going to fly all over the world and do that. We want the people that are right there and those who are living it every day who are going to be much better at it than we are. Now, Dave would be what we would call a mentor of coaches even, because he would help them through the rough spots. So there's still some Saddleback connection there, and that when the coach got stuck, you could always call Dave and he could help them out.
In the views that you're giving out of great teaching process, is there a way that pastor can get that? Because sometimes it's better, in my context, just watching Rick doesn't do it. Sometimes the pastor.
You want to teach it.
teaches- Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
You have
yeah.
a script where.
Yeah, get the transcripts, so you can work off the transcripts. And that's how we did when we recorded the Africans doing it. We had to internationalize all those transcripts.
Right.
Because you had, and we literally, when we were filming, it's funny, I was sitting there watching the filming, this guy, his name's Patrick, he's going along, and he says, I founded Saddleback Church 35 years ago, and my wife Kay and I, and he stopped and goes, wait a minute, because I'm not Pastor Rick. I said, yeah, we've got to fix that. So I was just about 4 paragraphs ahead of him as he was working teleprompter, and we were live changing things, deleting personal stories as we went down, so that we could pull this thing off. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. All right, let's bring Dave up, and Dave's going to talk about a couple other points here.